What is up guys, Julien here of Social Vignerons. Welcome back to another wine video. Today I'm pleased to announce that I'm tasting some wines from China, a very first China wine tasting for me. This is episode 22 of the Tasting with Julien series. China, of course, is the big superpower that we know. What is less known though is that it's also the 6th biggest wine producing country in the whole world. After obviously France, Italy, Spain, the United States, Argentina, and China comes 6th. In 2017 they produced 1 billion liters of wine. So a pretty big wine producing nation. Their vineyard area is absolutely immense, and it's the second biggest vineyard of a single country in the whole world, just after Spain. But in China they do make a lot of table grapes rather than making wine out of it. Still, the Chinese love and more drinking wine, and they love red wine. They famously prefer red wine to white and rosé wine. China is also a massive, gigantic market for the whole world. In 2017, 2.7 billion US dollars of wines were imported into China. The Chinese love their wine, they produce quite a lot of it, but not enough. What is less known, less talked about though, is how good are Chinese wines today. And that's what I wanted to find out. So I got some wines sent from China. I got some wines from Chateau Changyu Moser. This is actually a collaboration between the Chinese in the Ningxia province, that's right up in the north of China, pretty much in the desert, nearing Mongolia. This is actually a pretty big and pretty famous up-and-coming Chinese wine region, and this is a collaboration between the Moser family, a traditional and old family of winemakers from the Niederösterreich in Austria, Europe, and the Chinese. So many believe Chinese wines aren't that good. Why would they be imported so much wine if they were making some good stuff? Well, I'm definitely curious to find out. So I have 4 different wines. This is a white, slightly pinkish rosé. It's a white wine made from Cabernet Sauvignon, so a Blanc de Noir white wine made from red grapes, and 3 different types of Cabernet Sauvignon based Chinese wines. Chateau Changyu Moser 2015 Cabernet Sauvignon. This is about $10–12 wine. Those wines may not be available broadly globally. Obviously the Chinese drink most of the wine they produce. Then comes the Moser family, Chateau Changyu Moser, but Moser family Cabernet Sauvignon. This is a second wine, second label by the estate. And the top Premier Grand Vin from Changyu Moser. It's called Changyu Moser 15. Let's find out and dig into those wines. So first off is this curious rosé made from Cabernet Sauvignon, white, slightly pinkish. Let's find out about its color. As you can see, it's more of a white wine, but it's slightly blushy, so maybe it's made a little bit on the model of white Zinfandel, although I suspect this is going to be a dry wine. The wine smells very fruity, very zesty. It's very tropical as well. It smells almost like it's going to be a sweet wine after all. Let's find out. So no, this is a dry wine. It's extremely fruity. It's quite juicy as well. It's got a little delicate phenolics that makes you salivate. This is actually a very clean, very pure, very well made wine. It's very estery, a lot of pear, a lot of pepper as well from the Cabernet Sauvignon. We know that Cabernet Sauvignon can be quite peppery. It's very fruity, tropical, explosive, but dry. So this is a food-friendly, very surprisingly, actually very good, very interesting wine. I would pair this wine definitely on Chinese food, but it could go on many Western, European, Western dishes as well. Very food-friendly, an excellent well-rounded, well-made wine. So explosive in flavors. So yeah, a little bit, something a little bit different, fruitier and more explosive than most wines that you taste. And for this, it's actually very interesting. I love Blanc de Noir when it comes to champagne that are made from Pinot Noir, but from Cabernet Sauvignon, I don't think I've ever had a white wine made from Cabernet Sauvignon, and that's a great example. It's a good start. But let's move on to the entry-level Cabernet Sauvignon by Changyu Moser. This is vintage 2016, so it's a 2 years old wine at the time of the tasting. So these Cabernet Sauvignons are made in a very dry area north of China, as I was saying. Loads and loads of sunshine, so they have to irrigate a lot. It's made in a wide valley, a large and long valley up north in China. Curious to taste the expression of Cabernet Sauvignon over there. So certainly a fruity and peppery, warm, generous nose. There's a lot of blackberry jam and prune and quince paste, if you're familiar with this. So it's very generous, it's almost cooked, very fruity as well, so you can sense, just smelling at it, that those grapes have received a lot of sunshine. Wow! The wine on the palate is also very generous, a big burst of explosion of pepperiness, black pepper. There's cloves, there's nutmeg, an explosion of flavors, prune, a blackberry, as I was saying, a juicy cherry as well. So there's quite a lot going on. There's a lot of oak as well, like it's vanilla and smoky, but it's all pretty well integrated. Wow, this is a big bang of flavors. It's balanced, it's mild, tannins are granulous, a little edgy, but they're fine. Actually, an excellent, refined, quite complex Cabernet Sauvignon wine. I mean, they say $10, $12. If that's the actual retail price you can buy it at, well, that seems to be a pretty good buy. And you know, the Chinese might be starting to compete with the Spanish and maybe the others, because this is generous and this is very interesting a wine for $12. But let's move on to the Moser Family. That's the name of the wine. It's also Cabernet Sauvignon based and primarily Cabernet Sauvignon. This is vintage 2015, so it's 1 year older. Second label, second wine of the Changyu Moser estate. Definitely a little bit more denser color. Here straight away, but it's not massive. It's not like your big Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon or Aussie Cabernet Sauvignon. It's much milder in appearance, more like a Bordeaux looking wine. The nose is also very interesting. Still a lot of oak. This smells like an evolved wine, a wine that may have spent quite a long time in barrel, may have evolved and integrated quite a lot of oak, somewhat in a Rioja style, Rioja Grand Reserva or Rioja Reserva style, where you can sense that there's a generous fruit that spent a long time in oak. But a very fruity, again very spicy nose, fruity blackberry, loads of pungent flavors, lots of pepper. This is about a $30 wine. I mean, the price is going to vary depending where you buy this, whether it's in Hong Kong or mainland China, in the US or in Europe, if you can find it, obviously, but I think it's around $30. The tannins are denser and smoother. It's actually very well balanced. It's round, it's soft, it's creamy, it's dry. This is definitely on the Bordeaux style, Bordeaux savoriness, not entirely just on the full-bodied and rich expression. There is some generosity from the big amount of sunshine that these grapes receive, but it's on the savory European old school style, claret style for the UK audience. So soft, well-rounded wines, lots of complexity, pepperiness, spices and clove and nutmeg, black pepper, an explosion of sweet spices. There's actually quite a lot going on here. Certainly they've achieved an excellent balance in this wine. Big ups to the winemakers making this, because it's a very European expression, it's very controlled, it's balanced and soft on your palate. This to me is a 90 out of 100 points wine, so this is getting really serious. This is really getting into the low end but world-class wines, and I guess that's what you expect if you spend $30 on a wine. But compared to many French wines and definitely compared to a lot of US wines, you are getting a refined, well-crafted Cabernet Sauvignon for the bucks here. I am actually very surprised at how European this feels. Put this in a blind tasting. If you can find this and you have friends and you want to surprise them at a blind tasting, put that in a blind tasting and let me know what they think it was. I wouldn't be surprised if they were going definitely European, Southern European, Bordeaux in a very warm vintage, 2009 vintage sort of wine, perhaps 2015. But yeah, very well rounded wine, excellent value at $30. Wow, getting worried that the Chinese might play in the international wine scene very soon. Actually, I'm not worried at all. I think the Chinese and everyone else should come and play in the international wine scene. The more players, the more enjoyment, the more choice we can get. So I'm not actually worried at all. It's just joking right here. Let's move on to the premier Grand Vin by Chateau Moser Changyu. Chateau Changyu Moser number 15, top cuvée by the estate. So supposedly what this estate can do best in terms of Cabernet Sauvignon based, but we could call this a Meritage or a Bordeaux blend. Pretty dense color. This is 2015 as well. It does look redder, more vibrant in its red color, so I suspect it's evolved a little bit less. Probably withstand the aging in barrel a little bit better, a little bit fresher fruit. The nose is deep and intriguing and complex. There's a lot of clove, a lot of licorice. It's very like smelling like licorice. It's dark cocoa. It's a little bit shy. I suspect you would want to decant this half an hour before to let the wine breeze up and open up a bit more, which I haven't done. So yeah, a small step up here in terms of quality. It does have a little bit more structure. It's still very smooth and soft on the palate, still very dry, big explosion of spices as well. Perhaps the fruity expression is bigger and denser and richer here than on the Moser family. Certainly a more age-worthy wine because of the structure. This to me is a 91 out of 100 points wine. It's well crafted, it's well made. This is around the $50 mark in retail. This is getting interesting. 91 out of 100 points. It's getting quite interesting. Maybe I'm a little bit less convinced overall given the price tag. So they can make great wines, great value wines, but the top wine is not a massive superstar of a wine. At least I don't think it is. It's a very well made, very elegant, and it's a very promising wine for the Chinese wine industry and for the Ningxia wine region as well. But this is not a 95 or anything mind-blowing like this quite yet. So overall, very impressed with these wines. They're very clean. I was perhaps, you know, on the back of my mind expecting something a little bit strange out of Chinese wines. Maybe it is because they have winemaking, European winemaking family helping them consulting here, that the wines are so European in style and so well crafted. I mean, I don't want to sound that I think only Europeans make great wine. I think anyone can make a great wine, but I was very surprised by the taste and the kind of European, maybe a bit French influence in these wines. Very well crafted, complex, excellent value for the bucks. Also, they seem to be extremely food friendly wines, so definitely connoisseur wines right here, which I wasn't necessarily expecting out of those wines. So very surprised. China is crafting delicious wines. I can't wait to taste more of those, and I can't wait to see perhaps more coming onto the different markets. You know, I mean, there's room for everyone, and there's room for everyone that loves wine, that loves making wine, and that makes great wine, to go into the Western markets. And thank you to Changyu Moser for sending those wines over to me. Super interesting. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got some English sparkling wines coming up next. I've never tried sparkling wines before. Another curiosity, you could call it, in the world of wine, not mainstream wines. Super excited to taste those. I will see you soon in the wine world. Cheers.